Okay. I think we can go ahead and get started with tonight's session, and then people will filter in as they filter in. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Um, in this Sheila session, it's going to be a chance to kind of do some reflecting and brainstorming about your like dream job, and then we'll have a time where we can search a couple of career databases so you can kind of see if there are jobs out there that align with what you think would fit best for you or like what you want. If you just joined the Sheila program, my name's Annalise Schrader. I manage this program. You've probably been getting a lot of emails from me. Um, if you ever have any questions about anything, you can always email outreach@swe.org. Um, but let me share my screen. Um, if you guys have like a piece of paper to write on, or you can type in your computer, I would recommend kind of putting like getting something next to you. I'll give a quick shout out to our sponsors before I keep moving through this. Um, we got Honda, Avnet, Honeywell Foundation, ExxonMobil Foundation, the Catherine McQuaid Foundation, and Danaher. Um, we got our sponsors, and then move on to some questions. So this is what I said, like if you have a piece of paper, like a sticky note, probably bigger than that, but or typing on your computer, can kind of go through these. And I would just say to write down whatever your answer would be to these questions, because this is kind of a good point of self-reflection before we go into exploring some of the job databases. Um, so the first question you can ask yourself is like, what topics or subjects in school do you enjoy most? So on that sheet of paper, you can just write down like any favorite classes that you have right now, like English, any math classes, any art classes, anything at all. Could take a second to write that down. Good question, Nita. You don't have to share any specifics. Basically, well, you can, all of these things that you want in a job can be personal to you and private. And then it's just mostly at the end, we'll kind of do a group discussion over just how overall, like looking for like jobs that aligned with what you wrote down, how that went for you, or like if you found any jobs that you didn't know about before. But if you, anything that you write down here, you don't have to share with the group. And then I'll say this for anybody that's just joined, we're just going through this list. And we're just kind of, you can write down, answer these, you put down your answers to these questions. So the first one was what topics or subjects in school did you enjoy most? The next question is, what are three things that you are passionate about? So those can also be subjects from school. Those can be hobbies or activities that you have, projects, causes that matter to you, um, any of those. So we'll take a second to answer that second question. And then we'll go ahead and move on to that third. Do you prefer working on projects alone or in groups? Um, And it's also okay if there's like middle ground, because sometimes there's types of projects that are easier to work on alone or with others, but kind of in general, if you get excited about group projects or if you're kind of like, don't love those. Okay, the next question. Do you like structured tasks or more open-ended projects? So for that, I would say, do you like having a lot of like structured direction when you're working on a project? Or do you kind of prefer a project where you can kind of work on, like you don't have to work super linearly through the project. Like maybe you're able to start at different points within it, um, or like just a little bit less constraints or like I would just say rigid structure. Um, so take a second to kind of think about it, write it down. Um, and then the next one, what work location sounds the most appealing to you? You can also choose multiple of these. It can be like the office, working remote, working outside, or having traveling be the main aspect of your job. Um, you could be interested in all of these, two of these, just an individual one, but just something to keep in mind. Um, then the second to last question, would you prefer to have a boss or be your own boss? Um, so if you just does I feel like that doesn't necessarily have to mean that you would be like in charge of your own like company or anything like that, but maybe being able to have a job where you're not really being directed by somebody else. You can manage yourself more. And then the last question here to like consider, what is important to you in a job? And since you guys are all in high school, you might not have had a job yet, then that's okay if you haven't like worked something where you know like, oh, this is important to me in this. But to kind of think about things that you value now, um, would like having work-life balance be important to you? Is like your salary a pretty big thing for you? Do you want to work in a job or career that has a heavy social impact? Do you want to be able to have creativity? So you can write down some of these things that you would be important to you. Like if you were applying to a job and you saw the things that were listed out that went along with this job, like what kind of things would you be looking for? Um, so I can, if you have any, these are just kind of jumping off points to get you started. You don't have to like have these written down to like move on to the next part of this. It's just kind of a good place to get us started. Um, and then moving next. I'll share these two links in the chat, but basically what we're going to be doing next, I'll put you guys into small breakout rooms just so you can kind of talk with each other as you're looking through these two different websites, but I'll share the link for the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Handbook. Um, if you haven't used it before, it's just like a government website where you can look, like type in different jobs or like search different jobs that fall into various categories, and then you can see their career like outlook over the next couple years, salary that they like, average salary, type of educational training that it takes to get that job. Um, and then my next move is a website that's very similar to that. Um, if you are looking through either of these and you're finding yourself kind of feeling stumped, like not knowing what kind of job would be best for you, there on my next move, there is it's like an apt, I would say kind of like an aptitude test where you take it and it just kind of it asks you a bunch of questions about interests, and then at the end it tells you some jobs that based off of how you answered certain questions, kind of what jobs it thinks you would be best aligned with. So I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll drop those links in the chat for you all. So there's the occupational handbook one. This one's for my next move, which I said is like a very similar um, website to the occupational handbook. Um, and then this last one is the interest profiler, which is just kind of, I feel like similar to like a questionnaire where you can go through it and answer questions. It'll tell you kind of what jobs they think would work well with you. So you can either take the interest profiler or like just immediately start looking through the job websites. But basically, with what we reflected on and wrote down at the beginning of this session, kind of like go through these sites and look at different jobs. You might even have jobs that you already have in mind, like things like a career path that you're already interested in, and being able to look at them on these websites, you can then compare, like, based off of the way that you answered the questions we just went over, are the like, does the job that you're interested in align with the things that you want out of a career? Um, and then, like I said, if you're feeling like you're kind of stumped or not knowing where to go next, you can always do that interest profiler, um, to kind of help. Maybe it'll show you a job that you weren't aware of before. Um, so I'll put you into breakout rooms. You can all kind of talk with each other as you go through this, and then at the end, we'll just do like a quick discussion over things that you found, if there's anything of interest. Um, if you have any questions, you can message me in the chat, and I can pop around too as we're going through this. Um, but yeah, pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions before I put you into breakout rooms? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. If something comes up, just let me know. But I'm gonna split you guys into those now. Okay, I think everybody should be back. Um, so we can just take a couple of minutes, like to discuss anything that you all found. Um, did anybody find a job on this search, um, that now they feel super interested in, like maybe one that you didn't know about before, um, or maybe it was a job you already were interested in, and then this like search reaffirmed that interest. Um, so you can either raise your hand or in the chat, just put out any jobs that you found that you liked. Yeah, Joyce, if you want to share yours.
During our breakout room chat, something that I found was a job like labeled environmental engineering. And this was definitely a position that I completely did not know existed. Like at school, many people obviously want to go into the STEM field right now, but everyone was just talking about, oh, like there's obviously civil engineering, mechanical engineering, like electrical. And I think there wasn't a huge emphasis on environmental engineering. And that's definitely something I feel like I personally want to go deeper into because I personally care for the environment and I'm in a lot of environmental clubs. And just matching that with environmental engineering, I feel like is a whole other aspect that I definitely want to explore more.
No, that's great. I think that's one thing that's why it's so important to kind of like, I don't know, like reflect on what personally matters to you and what you're interested in, and then kind of do some deep dives into the options that are there, because there are just like so many niche career fields, or even just like fields that aren't as mainstream. Um, but then they just end up being ones that, like, if you don't know about them, you miss them, but they might be something that would really align with your interests. So that's great. I'm glad that you found that. Was there anybody else that found a job that now you're really interested in? Did anybody have a hard time finding jobs that aligned with some of like the things that matter to you, like those questions we answered? Like there was one that, what's important to you, like salary, work-life balance, being able to be creative. Um, you can all either like raise your hands, like, or put in the chat like yes if you felt like the job that you looked at and were interested in aligned with those things for you. Or maybe not. We can open it up a little bit more broadly. Did anybody, I guess, like, was there like a thing, like, what was the most interesting thing you found while searching through the different sites that were on here? Or did anybody take the interest profiler? Nita?
Sorry, I couldn't find my reaction button on the phone.
Oh, you're okay.
So I wanted to say that our group, we did not have access to either site. Um,
Oh,
but we were talking a lot about our interests, and I think one of us was very interested in electrical engineering, excuse me. And I was already very interested in biomedical engineering. Um, and we were talking about like different interests within what we kind of wanted from our jobs. and things like that. But we did not have access to the site. Sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad that you able, even though I'm sorry you didn't have access to the website, but I am glad that you were able to have like a good conversation around what you were interested in. Um, I'll make sure in an email after this session, I'll send out the PowerPoint so that those questions are there for points of reference, and I'll send the links out again. So if you didn't have access to them tonight, hopefully when I send out the links later, you'll have access. If not, just let me know because they are pretty helpful sites, I feel like, for looking up just jobs that you're interested in and being able to see different statistics for like job outlook and stuff like that. But I'm glad you guys were able to at least have a good conversation around it. Um, were there any final thoughts or anybody have anything else they wanted to share? The session, we might wrap up a little bit early because the session's a little bit more, I feel like just kind of what you find online. But did anybody have anything else they wanted to share? Or any like good conversations from your groups? Yeah, Joyce.
Yeah, I guess I could share again. Something that I think I learned when doing like just a simple Google search was that typically when people think of engineering, they think of like the STEM fields, like math and science heavy. But something that I realized is that engineering actually incorporates a lot of collaboration. And as like someone who's really social, I find that like kind of reassuring because I don't want to just be sitting at my work table all day and like actually having interactions, I think is just something that totally speaks to me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I feel like that's a really good thing to notice too. And like it's just important to be able to it's important to be able to like look at what you like and the career that you're interested in and just being able to see those correlations because you want to make sure that you feel like you're going to fit in and align with the career that you're wanting to pursue. So that's great. Well, I'm glad that all of you were kind of able to either have conversations in your groups that led to some insight or just being able to search the websites that were shared and being able to find like new information about the jobs you're interested in or even new jobs themselves. Um, like I said, I will share the links with everybody again. Let me know if there's any issues with them. But I'll make sure that I get those shared out with you all. Before I wrap it up, I'll give another shout out to our sponsors. They're Honda, Avnet, Honeywell, ExxonMobil Foundation, the Catherine McQuaid Foundation, and Danaher. I'll put the email to reach me at in the chat in case anybody has any questions. This is the last Sheila session just for the calendar year. We will have another session in January and then monthly moving forward after that. Um, but thank you all for taking some time out of your night to join this session tonight. And I'll send out the recording link for this and everything else in a couple days. But reach out if you have any questions and have a great rest of your night.